Ladies and gentlemen, I am Yozral, the game is World of Warships, and welcome to a quick blast in the Tier 4 US battleship, the Wyoming. Yes, I know, I've been saying I'm going to do a run on the South Carolina and a video on it, but it's proving tricky to convey the full horror of the South Carolina, the full despair, the full inadequacy of it, without resorting to unhealthy levels of obscenity, both for my blood pressure and possibly my YouTube count. Having to flag a video mature is unhelpful when it comes to subscriber count and view count. However, this is the Wyoming, the Tier 4 battleship, and it is considerably better than the South Carolina. Two major variants here. The A hull, which is the early version, 41,500 health, 6 main turrets, each mounting two 12-inch guns for 144 inches of freedom, 21 secondary guns, and then in a fairly major design flaw, some bright spark thought it would be a good idea to leave port with absolutely no anti-aircraft cover whatsoever. Don't look at me, I didn't design this thing. You've got harsh language and nothing else. They didn't even put an ensign up in the conning tower with a rifle. I mean, just one guy with a shotgun, is that too much to ask? Apparently it was, as far as the US Navy was concerned when they did the Wyoming. The B hull, however, this is the version you're looking at, is a considerably improved beast. They dumped most of the frankly useless secondary guns. Maximum range on these things, if memory serves, is 3 kilometers. Let's take a quick look. Yep, 3.5 kilometers on the 6 127mm guns. Let's face it, when was the last time anyone used secondary armament on a battleship and actually lived to talk about it before the destroyer knifed them in the guts at point-blank range? No, I didn't think so. And more importantly, a truly impressive amount of flak weaponry, at least for Tier 4. You have 14 single 50 cal machine guns, very much the last resort. They are 900 meters range, 14 damage per second. The primary anti-air weaponry, however, is the quad 28mm autocannon. These have a firing range of 2.5 kilometers, that goes up to 2.75 with the right commander skills. However, that's up in Tier 5, so it likely won't be an issue in the Wyoming, and they do 48 damage per second. And last but not least, you have the 3-inch guns, 16 damage per second, 2 kilometers maximum range, and you've got 8 single turrets. Essentially, any torpedo bomber coming into range of a Wyoming is probably going to lose maybe 1, maybe 2 before they get their torpedoes off. So that's 1 or 2 less that you have to get this huge lumbering hulk out of the way of. And believe me, that can make all the difference. For the ones that do hit, of course, you have 43,800 points of damage that you can absorb. Of course, if they start getting citadel penetrations, that's going to drop rather alarmingly. And as for lumbering hulk, well, 16.5 seconds to shift the rudder from port to starboard, or vice versa. Maximum speed with the upgraded 28,000 horsepower engine is 20.9 knots, considerably better than the South Carolina. It can at least keep up with the main battle line. And as standard, you get 18.3 knots, which is still about as good as the South Carolina in its best configuration, but ye gods, after the B hull, which should be your first upgrade, you have the engines, which should be your second. Fire control is also significantly improved. Main battery firing range with the upgraded Mod 2 fire control is 14.1 kilometers. So yes, you can actually get the first shots in, unlike the South Carolina, which of course gets spotted at about 13.5 kilometers, but can't engage until around about 11 even on a good day. The Wyoming, by contrast, your detectability is 14 kilometers on the surface, just under 10 kilometers from the air, so you will at least have the luxury that if somebody can see you, you can probably shoot back. The only problem is that the 12-inch guns have a rather awkward dispersal of 201 meters, which means that if you're firing at a destroyer... Why? Naval gunnery, ladies and gentlemen. I know Wargaming have said they're going to improve point-blank dispersion for battleships, but that's less than 3 kilometers. And if a destroyer has got within 3 kilometers of you, particularly if it's an American destroyer with those broadside triple tubes, you are about to eat one hell of a lot of torpedo-grade ordnance, and it's frankly probably too late anyway. So that's the paper version of the South Carolina, or rather the Wyoming. The paper version of the South Carolina we will consider later, and believe me, if I can get through that video without resorting to obscenity, I will be having an extremely good day. As far as commander skills go for this run, I have got the basic 6th sense, situation awareness. Not so much of an issue as it is on a destroyer, because hey, it's a battleship, you're going to get spotted by the time you're engaging, but it's useful to let you know if there's a destroyer lurking, because you won't be able to see anything, but your detection indicator will be flashing up big time. Marksmanship is the primary tier 2, an extra 0.7 degrees per second traverse speed on the main batteries. Yeah, it's not much, but it's going to take a few seconds if I have to tack the ship over from port to starboard. Hopefully, I will be able to get the guns around that little bit quicker. And last but most definitely not least, vigilance, an extra 20% acquisition range of torpedoes. Without that, generally by the time if you see the torpedoes, it's already too late to evade. You have to anticipate, and like so much in a battleship, yeah, if you're responding to the situation as it develops, you're being too slow. You really do have to be about 2 minutes ahead of the game in a battleship. So let's just get into a game and see how it goes. Random battle, random map, random team, random everything. This may or may not be fun. Well, we've got 2 brothers, no Sky Cancer, but they've got 2 New Mexicos on their team. Oh dear God, what? Mind you, we have got 2 Clevelands, and there's going to be a hell of a lot of torpedoes in the water on this one. Minakazes, Isokazes, load armor piercing as standard, because that's the battleship's job. High X in battleship caliber main batteries is of course principally for destroyers and carriers, and as mentioned before, with the shell dispersal on these guns at range, good luck hitting a destroyer with main battery fire. It really is a crapshoot. We're on the south side of 2 brothers, and well, the torpedo slot in the middle is guaranteed death if you're in a battleship, but it does have the virtue of being unexpected. So initial plan at the moment will be to move up to B, help with the capture there, and then probably pitch round to starboard, kick up into A. I'll have the guns round to port, so we'll provide support fire as we cruise round. Ideally, the other battleships will match us. Let's see what they're doing. Another little tip, right mouse button is the single most useful control you can have as a battleship, because it disconnects your viewpoint from the aiming point. Why Wargaming didn't make a huge deal of this in the manual, I do not know, but all ahead half. That Cleveland's a collision risk. Harder starboard, cut the engines. He should reach on us and go straight past. Like so. Destroyers have grabbed point B, so we'll modify again. All ahead full and head straight for A. At least I won't have to worry too much about having to make a tight turn to avoid the eastern main island. I also have to worry that we may be about to hit this Myogi, so collision avoidance again. He's turned to port, I've turned to port as well. Basic collision avoidance, ladies and gentlemen. Green to green and red to red, you're alright. Green to red, you have a problem. As long as you don't turn into each other, of course. Guns have come round. One interesting thing about the gun layout on this ship is that its full broadside angle is relatively narrow. You can only get the number 3 turret to engage round about there. Round about, what is that? 30 degrees forward of the main beam. After that you lose the number 3 turret. Likewise the number 2 turret only engages after about 30 degrees aft of the beam. So, little awkward. Your broadside angle's relatively narrow and that limits your manoeuvring options in a full engagement. Enemy shook its destroyers out to C and D. Looks like their heavyweight forces going for A, and they've got there just before we have. You can see we've frozen the cap, so that's cruiser on cruiser. Again, all ahead, full 20.2 knots, and the Phoenix and the Minakaze are heading into the slot for C. In fact, it looks like the Nicholas might be going there as well. Nope, Nicholas is actually turning away. Just the Phoenix and the Minakaze heading into the slot. Coming up on our initial engagement, 2 Isakaze destroyers and an Aoba class cruiser. Still not in range. Remember, maximum engagement is, from memory, there we go, handy reminder, 14.1 kilometers. And looks like we just ran into their line of battle. Oh, this could hurt. Give me a second. Enemy main force apparently D7/8. Engage conservatively until R D force at D can swing round. And here we are, opening battles, and that New Mexico is taking full advantage of his range edge over me, but luckily his dispersion at this range is going to be so god-awful that he still landed several minor hits. No hit point damage though, armor stopped the entire target, and we didn't lose any modules either. Extreme range fire didn't do that much. Let's turn again, line up full broadside on the Miyogi, and once he clears this headland, quick check ahead, make sure I'm not going to hit anything in the next few minutes. There we are. Range set elevation 5 mils offset. Okay. Shots out. Dispersion's not great, and I've led a little behind. And I'm short as well. Only 1 hit. Target not well struck at all. Adjust. Fire 10 mils. Check again. Those torpedoes might be an issue, so start turning. Remember, lay 10 mils. Miyogi is maneuvering as well. Adjust that down. 5 mils horizontal. Tighten the range a little. Okay. Turn again.
Torpedoes to port.
Get the torpedo warning. Won't matter. Target well struck. 6 hits. One of the nice things about the Wyoming is that in a stern chase, if it's being the one big chase, you've still generally got 4 main battery turrets pointed at the enemy, even if your forward turrets can't fire. Granted, in a pure stern chase you've only got the 2, but once you get onto the stern quarter, the number 3 and 4 turrets come to bear as well. So in this case, we will lay on to the New Mexico. Target proceeding towards us at quarter, approximately full speed, adjust, and okay. Dispersion's bloody awful. Range isn't great either. No hits, and I was laid short as well. Incoming fire is bad. Let's just get the repairs going on that. We've got 2 New Mexicos, and what the hell? Oh, right, fine. Safe launch. Right. Second New Mexico is burning, but he is also turning for broadside, so just keep jinking. Lay on again this time. Wait for it. Wait for it. Okay. We're going to swallow that torpedo. Those 2 are going to miss a stern, but this guy is going to... Whew! Out of range. But we now know that there's an enemy destroyer looking somewhere round to starboard. Not sure when those torps were launched, but if they were an extreme range Japanese launch, yet somewhere around by A. Not much I can do to him without some spotting information. There we go, more torpedoes in the water. Turn to port, get between them. And while we're at it, switch the guns over onto the port stern quarter. Again, he's out of range, and there we go. There's the Isakaze who's been launching at us. A couple of armor-piercing rounds, probably gonna miss. I tell a lie, one decent hit. And even with armor-piercing and a massive over-penetration, he is now hurting. Turn again. Need to keep throwing his torpedo direction calculator. Get that fire out. Isakaze is lining up again. In fact, we've now got both Isakazes chasing us. Fine, well, let's just even things up a bit. Rounds out. Complete misses. That's what tends to happen when you're firing main guns at destroyers. The dispersal is so bloody awful. Rounds short, but one hit. Okay. New target. I need to decide what to aim at here. The Isakaze is not really a threat. We're proceeding away and he's out of torpedo range, so give him something to aim at, then bring the numbers 3 and 4 turrets to bear. Line up on that new Mixo. Citadel penetration on that Phoenix. Lucky, lucky hit. Guns are reloading again. Switch rounds, high X. That Isakaze is setting up for a torpedo shot, so as before, just keep jinking. Make sure he can't get a good angle for a torpedo run. We are being chased off B, which is problematic, but won't matter because at some point that destroyer captain is going to commit the error of every novice DD driver everywhere and outrun his own smoke screen. And all I need is one good round once the high X loads. There we are. Range set. Guns bearing. Ude. Target well struck. Actually, no. Reload high X. We have got a Minakaze on the broadside. That's about the worst possible position. However, he is at extreme torpedo range. He's got, what, 7 kilometers to work with there? Even if he leads on, it's going to be awkward. Guns are pointed and laid, but we're waiting for the reload. 13 seconds. Sarukin is gone. We've still got those battleships chasing us, by the way, which is problematic. And this Minakaze is going to be feeding them detection information, even if they aren't in range themselves. Guns are laid. We've lost visual on the Minakaze. I don't care. Typical. The moment I commit the broadside, and I overestimated the range, then he fires and we get our detection back. Right, well, he's turned away, so we'll reload armor piercing, come back onto that Phoenix, get another repair party out, keep soaking the damage. Again, back onto the stern quarter. Really, the Phoenix is a threat at this point. Zoni's going to lose his firing solution in another minute or so. And there we go. Armor piercing in 4 seconds. After turrets are laid. Estimate 10 mils offset. We'll do it. 4 rounds out. Citadel penetration. 2 decent rounds. Still got number 4 turret available. Got to turn and risk a hit here. Almost slammed into the other Wyoming. My apologies, good sir. I got tunnel vision there. I honestly didn't register that you were there. Doesn't matter. Number 1 and number 4 turrets are up. Rounds out. Line's good. Elevation was not. Marginal shots anyway. Target's turning away again. Rounds out. And again. Lost my volley discipline a little here, but... And my elevation estimations were off. I thought he was turning further away than he actually was. Okay. Right then. Cut to half speed. We'll get another shot into the Phoenix while he's maneuvering away. Come on. Wait for it. Wait for it. Broadside out. All ahead, full, load high X. In fact, change of rounds, load armor piercing. Cut speed, cut speed, cut speed. All ahead aft. And all ahead starboard. That destroyer has badly misjudged his arcs. I don't know if he was firing blind through the gap and hoping for the best, but it didn't work. Armor piercing in 10 seconds, and he's got into range of my secondary batteries. Harder port, harder port, harder port.
Torpedoes, dead ahead.
This is gonna hurt. Oh god, this is gonna hurt. He was reloaded. Oh crap! Yeah, like I say, if a destroyer gets within 3 kilometers of you and he's got torps in the tube, if you're a battleship, you're dead. There is nothing I could have done about that. Just blitzed around that headland. There must have been a second destroyer. I thought he was unloaded or I would have turned away. Completely misread that previous salvo. That was a mistake on my part. But yeah, as I said, secondary armament. Funny joke. Still, 16 hits, 2 citadel penetrations, and 1 solid kill, even if it was a destroyer. Bit embarrassing, really. Mind you, Lewan's had a blinder of a game. 4 kills in the Minikaze. And Proconius isn't doing too badly. Hang on. Who was that destroyer that nailed me? I'm assuming it was Lewan, in that he's the only one still active. They're just hunting down our Miyogi at this point. Then, are they going to kill him in time? I'm not sure. The guns on them Miyogi aren't great, but the New Mexico's also adding its firepower. And those 15-inch guns really can mess you up if they hit you. He's not at extreme range either. His reach is about 15, 16 kilometers. Couple of valiant shots out from Carl 12 using the 2 aft turrets on the Miyogi, but it doesn't matter. Here comes the Minikaze, and even if we weren't about to lose him to the enemy Miyogi, the torpedoes from Lewan are going to finish the job. He's not maneuvering. We all know how this is going to end, and I think Lewan is going to get his 5th kill and probably a Confederate if he hasn't already nailed it. Here comes the High X. Torps will be in the water almost immediately. And he'll be reloading for a point-blank knife fight in the way he feels. Me, torps are in the water, widespread. Doesn't matter though, because the main guns from the enemy Miyogi finished him off. Then again, oh no, I got, yeah, Lewan in the Minikaze. That absolute knife strike from his torpedo tubes. Overall team scores were, well, I've had better runs. Lewan. Where did he come? 5 kills. 2 devastating strikes. Well, one of those will have been me, but no Confederate. He must have been playing a very good torpedo boat run. And, of course, the Tier 6 Aoba. Again, devastating strike. I'm assuming he got a good torpedo shot in as well. As for our side, 666 experience. Oh, Christ. Right. Let's see if we can do a bit better. We've time for one more, I think. Okay, perhaps a slightly more even match this time around. No tier 6s, tier 5s. We have got a tier 3 cruiser, the Tenryu. Well, could be worse. We've also got a tier 3 Kawachi. Bow class carrier on both sides, but we've got a slight edge in battleships with that Congo versus their 3 Wyomings and a Miyoji. In fact, just looking at that, yeah, it's gonna come down to the destroyers once again. As standard, all ahead full, rudder straight until we get some steerage way. Guns loading for armor piercing, and this time I think we'll probably break south-southwest. Hook up with the group targeting A, maybe clip through B as we go. Primary enemy engagement at this point could be in either direction, but it's most likely port, so that's where we'll set the guns. Main allied force will head for A. Hopefully our carrier will get moving. He's a bogue, so he's already got both his fighter squadrons in the air, and his dive bombers are off the deck as well. Dive bombers are orbiting until we can get some targets. They know they're heading out as well. Fighters are running point. Turrets slowly coming around. Just need to angle a little. Course is good to just scrape the headland. Not necessarily a wise thing to do if they've got a destroyer lurking there, because you do tend to get point-blank surprise torpedoes. It's kind of like surprise butt sex, but it's less directional and frankly more painful. And there we go, first contact. Omaha cruiser, and we did get a very, very brief glimpse of what I think was a Minikaze destroyer running escort for it. Now the question is, what can we do by way of an opening salvo? Dive bombers go into the Omaha, they'll be running the gauntlet of its flak guns. Ah, there we go, it's a Nicholas class destroyer. There's the flak from the Omaha. In go the bombers, they've lost one. Bombs gone. Turning away. Have they had any effect? Yes, they've dented his deck and scratched his paint. He's lost round about 10% of his health. Guns around at this point. I will actually have a couple of extreme range shots on the Omaha as we come around this headland, so that might make for a good opening battery. But we've got our own guns coming in. Their Omaha and a T-Dale caught me just short. And in fact, I am now in a rather awkward position. I'm off on my own, so...
The enemy team has taken the lead.
Options at this point. The far Omaha is not manoeuvring particularly, but it's a bad shot. So I'm not even going to risk that one. And anyway, he's got the headland covering him. So, harder starboard. Hopefully throw the gunfire from this Myogi. Yep, through the worst of it. Soak a few armor-piercing hits for long range. Main batteries, again denied a shot onto the Myogi, hadn't, courtesy of that headland. Denied again by these islands. Who put these islands in the way? Fine, let's do the sensible thing and hook up with the rest of the battle line. I could go for B, of course, but that's really just inviting southern torpedoes. Or, yeah, there we go. There's the one of the enemy Wyomings. Getting into a 2-on-1 duel like that would be awkward, to say the least. So, is he manoeuvring? Very slowly, yes. Right, so course is good. We're not going to ram anything. Set range. Lead on 6 mils. A bit. Rounds out. Observe fall of shot. Dispersion is not great, but line. 4 hits and a decent opening salvo. And landmass starts shielding us. Good landmass. Free landmass. Supporter of freedom and valiant capitalism. Now then, guns forward, start the reload again. We're out of this for a while. In fact, I think our next shot might well be the Wyoming again. So, steer for broadside. Check the course indicator just south of that island ahead. Guns come around again. Locked on to the enemy Wyoming. Check elevation. Again, lay on for about 6.5 mils this time. He's not manoeuvring. Rounds out. Dispersion looks good. Line looks good. Elevation. Strike. 5 hits. Target well struck. That's stripped about half his hit points without even trying. New target is the Omaha. Harder starboard for broadside. 10 seconds for the reload. Get the ship round, slew the turrets, and denied again by the vile traitor landmasses. Right, we've got enough manoeuvring room to steer to port, cut close onto this island, which might not be a wise idea. We will be heading into something's torpedo range by the look of it. Also not going to get there in time to save Zaskodnik. His Kuma's had it, there we go. However, revenge is about to be swift. Snow Angel avenges him. Main guns coming up. Miyogi class. Elevation, check for waterline. Lay on to... let's give it 8 mils. That's a Japanese ship. Rounds out. Broadside line looks good for the midships. Elevation, dispersion are good. Elevation not good, shot a little long, but that might have just been dispersion from the main guns. Remember, 200 meters maximum dispersion. It might land in the same postcode, but the aim and the firing solution were reasonable. My gunnery crews need more motivation. Is flogging an option in the US Navy in this period? No? Pity. What about rum? Oh, wait, no. The US Navy was a dry navy in this period, wasn't it? Right, so Miyogi has run aground! Ha 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 ha! Right, aim midships. Elevation good, line good, rounds out. Torpedoes impacting, rounds coming in. And that's all she wrote. I will link to the cartoon warning you about not getting tunnel vision in a battleship, because, oh boy, that's as good a lesson as you're ever going to see. Apologies to whoever's kill I just sniped, by the way. Next line, it's the Wyoming again, and this time he's shooting back, so 6.5. Okay, headland blocks us, but we'll be able to trade, get the repair party out, start fixing some of that damage. Most of it should be recoverable. And then wait. Simply put, for the Wyoming to appear again. There he is. Neither of us are manoeuvring. Guns are pre-laid. 11.7 kilometers. Check elevation, 6.5 mils, rounds out. Maneuver slightly just to throw his gunnery prediction. A couple of plunging hits into his midships deck. 2-to-1 gun duel with the Wyoming is not good. I'm only turning towards him so I don't hit the Miyogi, by the way. Rounds out, he's targeted the Miyogi, that's fine, I can accept a 2-to-1 gun duel. Strictly speaking, it's 2-on-2, but we'll both focus on this Wyoming and beat him down. Rounds coming back. Main turrets aren't engaged, but doesn't matter. Probably going to miss, but dispersion might actually save me here. Line is reasonable, the elevation is going to be the tricky bit. 2 direct hits, so that's about all I was expecting from a target maneuvering like that. Don't really want to have to switch on to the starboard quarter at this stage, but we have got the second Wyoming, and unfortunately he's got us! Light damage. Thankfully the armor stopped the worst of it. Main guns are just about to reload, so we'll give them a broadside. Remember, 7.5 mils on, set for waterline. Rounds out. Strike! Took out one of his turrets. 7 hits. Was actually aiming a little forward, so we'll adjust lead for 6 mils. Come out of it quickly. Again, yeah, there we are. We were about to hit something. Gently to starboard to avoid both the Miyogi and that island, then back up to a head full. Lay on, 6 mils, elevation. Guns up. Rounds out. Have some freedom. There we go, only 3 hits. Dispersion was not great on that one. Little more course adjustment. His dispersion is not too shabby. Or rather, not too great either. Get another repair party out. Start soaking that damage! Holy crap, I think that was a citadel penetration. Doesn't really matter. We have reloaded. 6... Actually, let's give him 5.5. Waterline. Guns up. Rounds out. Shot's good for line, but we didn't get much of a penetration. Give him the rest of the broadside. Solid hits again. He's down to 14,000, but so are we. What the? Oh, map boundary. Forgot about the map boundary.
Main turret critically damaged.
All head off. Fix that damn turret. Ugh. On the subject of tunnel vision, learn from my mistake. Do not assume you have infinite ocean to work with. Rather harder starboard. Okay, we're going to lose that Wyoming for the moment. That's fine. It means his main guns aren't battering us to pieces. while we're recovering from this little blunder. Okay, rudder back to neutral. In fact, rudder to starboard. Target is heading away, not really manoeuvring. Rounds out. Not holding much hope for that. Extreme range broadside into a stern chasing target. I'll take it, those 7 hits. Okay. Keep the rudder to starboard while we're at reverse. Then harder port. Half power, keep the turn radius as tight as we can. Rudder, hard port. Are we going slow enough? Is the turn radius going to work? Yes, it is. There we are. We're still good. Enemy is winning this one ever so slightly, but it's really more a case of battering the other guy into submission. So, forward turrets laid onto the Wyoming. Just get the number 1 and 2 turrets round. I want that should be tracking slightly to starboard of him so the aft turrets stay laid to port. There we go. Laid on, target manoeuvring. Quarter shot, extended range, fire. Then switch, see if we can pick up the other Wyoming. No, we can't. I don't think we need to worry about him anymore. The cruisers are just going to beat him to pieces. Even with high X, that's the end of that Wyoming. So, right, I really want to keep the aft guns tracked to port at this stage. So, pitch round, come up to speed, get the repair party out again. Final use of that. About 19,000 hit points to work with at this stage. Problem is, of course, he, much like us, has got a top speed of 20 knots, so yeah, it's not going to matter. That Miyogi is probably going to finish him, but just to be safe, I'm going to set a lead course so we can just about tighten the range enough to get an extreme shot from the forward turrets. Secondary turrets will come round to starboard. There's nothing I can do about that, but we did just sight the enemy aircraft carriers. Well, carrier single. So if we can drop him, it's going to help things considerably. Still out of range. Just need to close distance. We're undetected at present. So that Bogue has no idea we're here. He's going to be focusing on the Miyogi. Jibiki. I have no idea how you pronounce that. So, course to... There we go. Now the Mutsuki... Note those dive bombers were launched as close defense against the Mutsuki. We're detected, but we have got... Well, no, we haven't. At his speed and course, he is still just outside guns range. We're going to need to close it to around about... I was going to say around about 13 kilometers, but it doesn't matter anymore. He's dead.
Our team has taken the lead.
So, 3 battleships, a cruiser and a destroyer versus 2 cruisers, a carrier and a destroyer. We've got bearings on both their carriers. Sorry, both their cruisers. That's the main thing. They're heading for B. We don't know where their destroyer is, though. That's going to be the real problem. Finding the nippy little git before he wrecks us. Point B's going down. That will be the enemy cruisers based on their last position. That's still no information about the location of the destroyer. Primary focus, however, is going to be finishing off this Bogue. Mitsuki's put torpedoes in the water. Those will certainly cripple him, depends on how rapidly he's maneuvering. Load high X, get the gun turrets round. Torpedoes are running. Impact! Target well struck, but it didn't do that much. Very disappointing salvo there from the Mitsu. I tell a lie! Wow! I don't know what was going on with those torpedoes, but there was an initial little dip, and then he just blew himself sky high. Switch back to armor piercing. Next likely engagement is going to be those cruisers at B, but we really need to regroup. Regroup, let's say H4. regroup H4. If we can get something like a battle line back together, we can focus our fire and just beat the rest of the enemy team into submission. Sky Cancer is no longer a problem, of course. 12 kilometers on that Phoenix. Course is laid for H4 midsection. Guns around. Armor piercing is loaded. Target is not maneuvering. Let's see. This is a risky shot. Yeah. Bingo. Straight into the headland. It would be nice to be able to fix the elevation of a shot in a situation like that, where I did actually have the angle on things, and we just got a glimpse of their destroyer. High X loaded. Destroyer, destroyer, destroyer. 7.8 kilometers. It's a nice Akaze. Main battery is still reloading High X. We're going to have torpedoes running. Start maneuvering. Begin by turning away from him. That'll force him to turn towards us. It's just inviting him to come round that headland and get himself pinned against the island. 3 seconds to the load. Target forward quarter. 10 mils. Shorten the range bit. Rounds out. Target maneuvers. Rounds short but good for line. Friendly torpedoes in the water. The Isakaze has seen us. That turn strongly suggests a torpedo launch. Omaha has opened fire as well, so we'll adjust hopefully enough to put his torps off track. He should just about dodge the fish. Yeah, he did. Fine. Round. Stern over. Get round again. We really need the recce information from that friendly destroyer. There we go. Fish were in the water, but since we anticipated it and turned, we've avoided them. Right. High X out. Switch back to armor piercing. Might give him a few deck fires to worry about. It did more than give him a few deck fires to worry about. I make that a turret hit and an engine hit. He's blown his repair party. Didn't really have a choice there unless he died, or we'd just knocked him to pieces, but we did just lose one of our cruisers. Happily, they took another cruiser as well, so it's really going to be that destroyer that costs us the battle. Omaha is manoeuvring away on his port quarter, turning towards us again. Adjust, lay, and rounds out. Slightly dodgy shot, probably going to miss quite badly aft. Just aft, in fact, because he was turning. Again, we've got a shot on that destroyer. No real contacts, however. Muckle's gone. Snow Angel will probably finish him off. Probably. It's going to come down to rate of fire. There we go. Boom! But he's going to die in the return. No, he didn't. Blimey, he survived. Is he okay? He's not burning, so that's the main thing. Wow, he got lucky. Right, load High X. Main batteries against the destroyer is a crapshoot at the best of times in the battleship, but I only need a couple of hits. Of course, first I need to find the little sod. Okay, he's in A, but he won't be there now. Chances are he's lurking, but we have got spotter aircraft in the area. Problem is we can't order them. There we go, he did just fire. A little bit of High X, just fix that fire quickly. Guns are loaded, but again, we need a firing solution. And for that, we need line of sight. Keep maneuvering. It's very tempting to maneuver close, try to get a fix. So, thank God for extreme range warships. Well, it's a good thing I didn't maneuver close to start with, because, hey, I think we won anyway. Come on, where are the results? Defeat! And that, boys and girls, is why you don't ignore the damned objective. That destroyer played a blinder on us. Mind you, so did the rest of the team. Just chased us off the objectives, let the battleships get glory hungry, and just rammed us out of the middle of the map in the process. Very well played. Very well played. Reminder, ladies and gentlemen, tunnel vision can be strategic as well as tactical. Always know where your objectives are. This is not World of Tanks. Ladies and gentlemen, I've been Yuzzel. That has been 2 rather disappointing rounds in the Wyoming. I've screwed up, so you don't have to. Until next time, farewell.